Here we are. Welcome to another episode of the Parasite podcast with me, Daniel Lay, the owner of the Eminent Group, and my trusted sidekick, Megan Smith, the commercial director.
Sidekick, I think you're in trouble for that.
A little bit, we'll speak later.
Now, Christmas might seem a distant memory for most, but for our next guest, the preparations for Christmas 2023 will be already in full swing. Today's guest is none other than our very own Saint Nick. Nick Bolton, the CEO of the Christmas Decorators, one of the most prestigious festive decoration companies in the UK, and one of Eminent's favourite clients. The company is based in Speak, Liverpool, and has a clientele list that boasts some of the world's biggest names, including Mariah Carey and Elton John. Morning, Nick. Cheers for joining us.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Meg.
Good morning,
Pleasure to
Nick.
be here.
How are you?
Very well.
Good. Now, before we talk all things Christmas, we would like to go and talk about all things Nick.
Oh, great. Let's talk about me, myself and I. One of my favourite topics.
Well, I thought it might be. So we would like to just go right back to the very beginning, before your career, and let's talk about Nick growing up, what it was like, family, and just what it was like, really. Okay,
fair enough. Well, I grew up in a modest household. My dad had his own business. And I, as a kid, watched him grow his business. Not that I took much notice at the time, because who does when you're that age, you know? I went to Gatska Comp and had a normal school upbringing. I got some GCSEs, but I failed my A-levels, one of which was business. Because I'll be honest with you, at the age of 18, it was all about just having a doss, drinking and girls. Well, you know, as most 18-year-olds. Never really thought I'd set off on a life of business, to be honest with you. It was an absolute accident. Because what happened was, as we left school, I saw friends going into careers and jobs. And I thought, I don't know if that's for me. I want to make money out of something that every day when I get up, I love doing it, rather than being in what I call the rat race. And I thought, you know what, I don't want to have a boss. I want to do something on my own. Now, at the time, we're going back to about 1993 now, when I was 22, I'd learned how to snowboard, which back then was a brand new sport. You'd never hear or see of snowboarding anywhere, really. It was a brand new up-and-coming sport.
Around the streets of Gattica.
No, not on the streets of Gattica, no.
And is that why? Because it was a new thing? Or
it was a brand new sport.
Yeah,
brand new sport. And I actually saw somebody in Italy when I was skiing, snowboard down the mountain, and everyone stopped and looked at this person on a snowboard. And I looked at everybody looking at this snowboard and thought, I want that to be me.
Took you there and then.
So I thought, right, how do I make money and make a business out of snowboarding? I'm not going to open a snowboard shop in Liverpool. It's a brand new sport, you know what I mean? It would have failed in no time. I looked at a harebrained scheme of building Liverpool's first dry ski slope without any capital, backing, finance or anything. That never would have happened. And I thought, okay, what if I took people on holiday and taught them how to snowboard as opposed to ski? And I thought, well, if we're going to do it, let's do it properly. Let's not mess around in the Alps. Let's go to the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. So that's what we did.
Do it proper straight from the get-go.
Go hard or go home, isn't it?
That's the one.
Never. I
don't think skiing. I done it once when I was a kid, and I'll be honest with you, I think I was about 13, I think, and we went to the French Alps on a school trip. And all I remember was just this French woman just screaming to me every 10 minutes, "Daniel, snowplow!" Just slow down. Just crashing into everyone.
Do you know what I think my problem would be? I can't de-ice my car in the morning, let alone have to go and wrap up for that.
So pretty straightforward. You kind of knew you didn't want to do your 9 to 5. You didn't want to be in the chain. You wanted to break free. And you just knew you wanted to do something, but you just had to try and figure out how to do it.
So the plan was to spend 6 months in a ski resort, snowboarding every day, getting drunk every night, but it'd be paid for somehow. So that somehow was to bring people over on paid holidays. So I had no ABTA license, no atoll license. I literally was winging it. I managed to blag a contract with American Airlines. to buy wholesale flights. I think to Denver was 172 quid round trip.
That's quite a big blag, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Catch me if you can.
Yeah.
Just like Nick's having his own plane. Just like, listen.
So
Nick's Airways. Don't ask no questions.
Yeah.
Just get on the
Just get
plane.
me there.
We'll have a party and a snowboard. That's it, done.
it was more rough than that, actually.
Was it?
Yeah, because we ended up, we bought a minibus to get people from the airport up into the ski resort in the Rockies. And that's a 2-hour drive from Denver on snow-covered roads. Well, back then I was young and reckless and I only had so much money.
Yeah.
So I bought an old clapped-out minibus. It had ball tyres and I couldn't afford insurance. And little did these people who are coming on our holidays know.
You're just winging it all the way.
Completely winging it. We rented a chalet and we put numbers on all the doors, 1 through 8, so we could accommodate 8 rooms worth of people, so 2 people a room, 16 people.
Yeah.
But you know what? We sold out because everyone wanted to learn to snowboard. We sold out. I didn't make a lot of money. Probably only I did about 150 guests. Yeah. And I made 100 quid on a sale of the holiday. But you know, I was only 22.
And you're away. It's not really a job.
I'm living the dream. I was making loads of secondary spend in the resort in lift pass commissions and running day trips with the minibus, the illegal minibus. And it was only the second year, so still I'm not business minded. Bear in mind that I dropped out of business studies. So this is all just me having a DOS and having it paid for by someone.
Yeah,
it's not about business.
It's like the common misconceptions. I think we've spoke about this before, where people think to set up a business, you sit there in a room and you go, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and this is going to happen. Then all of a sudden, anyone who sets up a business, I think, needs to understand, sometimes you just put yourself in a position and just take it as it comes. Just go with it. And a bit like your story there, just thought, do you know what, I'll just go with it. It's not planned. I haven't done it. I'm just going to take every day and just see how it goes.
That's very true, Dan. If you think about it, you know, when you were 6, you didn't say to your school teacher, did you, when I grow up, I want to own a recruitment and fabrication and installation company. You didn't say that.
No.
But when I was 6, I was just hoping to get to the next year, to be fair, because I was a bit of an handful when I was a kid. So each year was a blessing in school for me.
Yeah. Oh, well.
So,
yeah. And that's how it all started, the business life. You know, the following year, I kind of looked and thought, I've got all this money in the bank.
Yeah.
Wow, this is what one of them things called a business.
Yeah,
wow.
You looked at it and thought,
started taking it serious, got insurance on the minibus,
Finally.
got a 16-bedroom lodge so I could do 32 people every week.
And you're still based out in Colorado?
Yeah, I was traveling between Colorado and England literally 8 to 10 times a year.
Okay. And at what age was this?
So I'm now 22, 23.
Okay.
Yeah.
Clocking up the air miles.
Yeah, absolutely. I've now got my ATOL licence, and even to this day, still am the youngest person in Britain to have ever held an ATOL licence.
Wow.
With the Civil Aviation Authority. Yeah.
And how were you advertising this? Like, how did you get people to come and go on snowboarding holidays? Like, where were you putting it?
It was surprisingly simple. I went around all of the dry ski slopes in the UK, which was about maybe 40 of them.
Yeah.
That were introducing what was called snowboard nights. So during the week, only skiers were allowed on the slopes, but on a Wednesday night, say in Milton Keynes, you're allowed to snowboard. So like 50 people would turn up with snowboards.
Yeah.
So I would go around all the car parks, putting flyers on the windscreens. And then as the years went by, it got more professional. I'd approach the marketing people at the dry ski slope and sponsor the crash mats at the bottom.
Yeah.
So they'd have Rocky Mountain snowboard tours on the crash mats.
Smart.
So just slowly moving into just getting more aware of what you're doing.
Eventually going to the Daily Mail ski show and having a booth there.
Wow.
And then I started to learn from business as I was going along. Making up as I was going along, but absorbing everything I could off the people around me in business.
And was it just you at that time? Was you kind of doing, because obviously with my background, especially, you know, Nick knows it pretty well.
Yeah.
You're sick of hearing about it.
So sick.
But that's how I find it. Most people start, they just do it by themselves. They do something that they like and then just try and evolve it.
Yeah.
That's...
It evolved over 5 years to offices at the Albert Dock with 3 staff.
Okay.
To around about 40 chalets across the whole of North America. Whistler in Canada and Lake Tahoe and Aspen Vale, Breckenridge, which eventually led because we're getting closer now to where I am now,
Yeah.
to having a bar and restaurants. That had always been my dream.
Oh, was that your dream?
Really?
That was my dream. And, you know, that was my
So
dream.
Saint Nick could have been Chef Nick with a big top
Yeah.
hat.
Oh, for a moment, I was Chef Nick. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
no, we didn't know this.
Did you not
I'm
know this?
shocked.
Can't wait for Christmas dinner
This
next year.
is why I'm sure. Like, I digress a bit, but I'm sure, Nick, you cook for all your staff, don't you, once a week?
Every Friday, I cook for
Yeah.
all the team, yeah.
Love that.
You
Isn't that
need to
lovely?
start upping your game, do you know what I mean?
Can't cook for myself, let alone everybody
Put
else.
ourselves in air fryer if that counts.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone who
love
turns up at ours lunchtime on a Friday gets their dinner cooked by
There we
me.
go,
And I
done
ask the
next
team
week.
during the week, what do you want me to cook? Because I can cook anything, and I'm probably the best chef I know. That's really egotistical, isn't it? But
It is
honestly,
just a little bit,
Love
yeah.
it.
That's for example, they're the worst cook that I know. I'm the worst cook that I know.
Yeah, same.
So when, obviously, you said 5 years, you've done that. At what point, obviously, you got your officers in Liverpool, you got a couple of staff members with. At what point did you sit there and think, this has the potential here to grow into something bigger than I even thought of? Because obviously, with Eminent, it was up to about 3 years ago. I was still in the bedroom, working on a phone.
Still in the room.
It's quite funny that you two were here today. Meg was my first member of staff, and it come from a conversation from me and you on a train down to a business
Yeah.
trip. And I remember thinking, the first member of staff for me was quite a big moment. And I thought, hang on a sec, I've got a member of staff now who's now turned out to be, you know, running the business, basically, you know, the real boss of Eminent, let's be honest. But at that point, for me, it was a bit like, I've got something here. I've got something that I can actually use and maybe look into different things and move. What was the point on yours where you thought, okay, I've got a few staff members here, but if I really go for it and put my foot on the gas here, I can have something. Is there a turning point as such?
Okay, yeah. In relation to the days of Rocky Mountain snowboard tours, that moment came when I used to spend every summer for 4 months just sunbathing in Calderstones Park because it was a snowboarding business, so it was only in the winter.
Yeah.
So while you're lying there in the sun doing nothing for 4 or 5 months, that's really valuable time. That's
Yeah.
thinking time. That's planning time, and you need that in business.
Yeah.
You need clarity. And it was at that point where I thought, you know, we've got chalets now that we're paying mortgages on. You know, what can we be doing year round? Mountain biking. And isn't it amazing how I never set off to have a company that would do mountain biking holidays.
So when you say the chalets are like mortgage and stuff, how do you navigate, obviously being a young company, but obviously you're from England, but you're working over in a foreign country, trying, like, you know, I'm sure there's issues there trying to, you know, set up that massive risk if you look at it. Do you know what I mean? Getting mortgages on properties abroad on a business, that's really...
So now at the age of 50, I would probably say I'm risk averse
Yeah.
compared to what I was. But when you're young
You don't
and
care.
you
just
know,
go for
you
it.
haven't got a family, you haven't got children, you've got no commitments or overheads in your life. I didn't even have a mortgage in England.
Yeah.
You just go for it.
go
You don't
for
have
it.
any
Yeah.
fear. Well, I didn't anyway. It's just like, I never thought about things like that, to be honest with you. I just would run the numbers and go, well, if my mortgage repayment's $1,800 a month for
This is what I need to do.
6-bedroom chalet, and a 6-bedroom chalet can hold 12 people a week, and 12 people a week on a mountain bike is a grand.
Yeah.
Then you do the maths on that and go, God, the mortgage is
Yeah.
nothing.
Basically, how I started with you, just worked out exactly how many people I'd need.
Yeah.
How many people I'd need out to be hired
Yeah.
on the recruitment, because at that time it was still basically a recruitment company. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
well, if I'm going to invest in someone, I'm going to have to work this out and work this out. I just thought, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You know, we just go for it and see what happens. Once again, just winging it a little bit.
Absolutely.
Having
Yeah.
no real plan, but just thinking, okay, we're going to have a go. If it works out, this is what could happen. If it doesn't work out, what's the worst case scenario? I just go back to Calderstones Park.
Sunbathing topless.
Sunbathe them for the next half of the year.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained, is what they say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously now the Christmas Decorators, in
Yeah.
our eyes, I think it's one of the best companies. And I'm not just saying
Thank
that.
you.
Our lads and our contractors absolutely love doing your jobs. And I think we've been...
So when I watch your podcast next week,
and it's all edited out.
and you're sat here with a guy in this seat, you're going to be telling them,
Client.
oh,
You're my favourite.
Yeah.
No, but truthfully,
genuinely though.
we do, because
really.
it's if you, I don't know if you remember the story of how we got brought together as such. There was an employee of Nick's who was knocking around with someone that I knew.
I don't think I know this story.
Yeah, and it was basically, once again, no plan. somebody phoned me up and said, you do labour, I need labour. And I was a bit like, okay, let's have a little chat. And she said, I'm working for this Christmas company. And we had a little chat and it went really cold. And I had Nick's number, and I think I had Jed's number at the time, and I phoned a couple of times, got nothing. And I was a bit like, oh, it had potential, I could see. Like, I think it was because you wanted more than 2 people at a time. I thought, this could be good, this. So I remember phoning, and I think I got in touch with you once, and you were like, I don't know what this is about. And I was like, I was speaking to this person. This person's no longer with the company. But we're still looking, come in and have a chat. And, it was a bit like that. It was a bit of a coming together. And what, I think we're in our 4th year now. We've just finished our 4th year.
Do you know why I'm smiling to myself right now? Do you know why I'm smiling to myself right now? Do you know where I was when you called me?
As if you remember.
If you sunbathing in the park.
I was in Coldstones Park. I'm not joking. I was. How ironic is that? How ironic is that? And by the way, this wasn't pre-planned. It's not rehearsed.
Well, I didn't know that at the time. It makes you feel a bit weird now that you're in Coldstones Park with your top off. But
I never said I had my top off. You're the one who said that. I said I was in Coldstones Park. Dan, if you want to bring me being topless into it, then in your own imagination, you go for it.
It's on my mind. That's it.
So, going back to the Christmas decorators, did that start when you were over in Colorado?
It did indeed, Meg, yeah. And that was a complete accident as well.
Yeah.
So I've got this bar and restaurant. I've invested like £500,000 into it.
Okay.
And it's going tits up.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not working out.
Okay.
We were set off the main street.
Yeah.
And you had to know us or be able to see us, and you couldn't because it was set back off the main street. Ironically, the main street, you can see our bar and restaurant in the background on the movie Dumb and Dumber. Okay. Where they come in on that little motorbike.
Sounds like
they've just gone over the mountain pass on that motorbike, and you come in through the town.
Yeah.
It says welcome to Aspen, and then you go down the street freezing their asses off on that little moped. Yeah. And our bar's just behind them as they drive right past it. Yeah.
You would have kept hold of it. You could have done some marketing around Dumb and Dumber there. Claim to fame.
I know. So we couldn't get people to come in.
Okay.
And so we're living in a ski resort.
Was there ever a time though when obviously you've got your skiing stuff and that's doing pretty well, and you've got the restaurant and that's not doing, does the thought process of one lead into another where you're thinking, okay, I thought it was going to be a success and it's not, and then obviously you had the Christmas and the snowboard and stuff. Does it leak into it a little bit, or could you separate both businesses and say, no, this is doing a separate job, this will work, this one is something I don't, I'm not giving me full attention to? Could you separate them, or did they leak in?
No, you hit the nail on the head there. Do you know what? It was all too much too soon. Yeah. Without proper infrastructure behind, and probably underfinanced as well. Yeah. I'd spent everything on buying this bar and restaurant. The refurb was a lot of money, and all of a sudden, I've met in my first time in my life at the age of about 30 now, failure. Yeah. I'm like, hang on a minute, everything I do works so far. How can this not work? Yeah. But you know what? That's just what life's about, isn't it? Some you win, some you lose. And it didn't go to my plan. That's the first time that I felt like, whoa, this is tough actually. It's not all, twinkle fairies.
Do you think that's probably helped a little bit with the Christmas decorators being so big and so popular the way it is now? Is obviously because you've tasted that, what it feels like not to be on the winning side all the time.
Yeah. It means you've got to plan better and, properly invest into it and make sure you're really careful about every move you make. And I used to hear this expression when I was younger on like TV and whatnot, that a business failed because it grew too fast. And I thought, how can a business fail through growing too fast? Surely growing fast is a good thing.
Well, I totally agree with that, because
we have the same.
We've had the same, and obviously you've seen us grow over the last 3 or 4 years. We've basically doubled turnover every single year now for the last 4 years. And it does get to that point where it's a bit like a loose train sometimes, and you've got to be a bit careful. Yeah. Obviously, we went from the recruitment company, which everyone knew about anyway, from supplying labour. An opportunity come then to do fixed price installs, and we've done that, and we worked with you doing that as well. But then it was the shop as well. And it was a bit like, geez, the outlay on that was, you're probably putting it on par to a restaurant. You're talking 35, 40 grand rent, the rates, the refurb. I remember when we first set up, the very first thing that really took me was the gas, the electric, getting all the wiring for the welders. I got a spark to come in. I had a brand new warehouse, brand spank, absolutely gorgeous. And I thought, okay, split it up, and got an electrician, and he went, yes, 7 grand. Yeah. And then he fell off my chair, and I was like, £7,000. And he was like, yeah.
To put some plugs in.
And I was like,
Yeah, that's what you think, isn't
I was like,
it?
literally to
Yeah.
put some plugs in. But because, you know, I've been in that environment a long time, but I've never had the money in my back pocket where it's been my money.
right, yeah.
I knew it was going to be, you know, not an easy ride, but it was a bit like, here's the point now. You're invested, do or die. We don't really get a chance to fail. And I think if one part of my business failed in any man, I think it would transcend into the other. I think I'd be a bit more strict. A bit more strict with it. And obviously, without the failure at the moment, we're kind of go, this will work, this will be good. I reckon if I did have a bit of failure coming into the business in one sense, I reckon that's where it would shut me down a little bit. And it would change how every day, like we're quite lenient, aren't we? She waltzes in 8:15 most mornings.
That's a lie. That's a big fat lie.
But I think if I was that on it and it was like my life savings, something hadn't worked, and then I'm trying to rebuild another business, I think I'd do things completely different. 100%. I don't think.
And on that, did you do things different after that, or no?
Yeah,
or?
I was a lot more cautious. Yeah, a lot more cautious. And I realised that I wasn't invincible because I thought I was.
Yeah.
It didn't tell me. I didn't wake up every morning and look in the mirror and go, "You're invincible, Nick."
Sure.
It wasn't like that. But every time I'd start a new business venture, it wasn't even a thought of it failing.
Yeah.
Because I don't fail.
Yeah.
The bar and restaurant was tough. Don't get me wrong. I sold it at a profit like a year later.
Yeah.
So it wasn't all bad.
No, it's all good.
In terms of operational, week by week, it wasn't doing the numbers it should have.
Yeah.
But that's how it led on to the Christmas. So we're living in a ski resort, snow, skiing, snowboarding, all of which my wife hates. So I said to her...
Well, I was going to ask you, at this time of transition through these businesses, was you single? Was you married? Was you engaged? What was
I was married and... I was married, but Sarah was a school teacher in the UK. So we didn't see as much as what normal married couples see one another, because Colorado, I think, is 4,500 miles away. So
like long distance.
I reckon I could do that.
I would love that. Find me a boyfriend in Colorado.
Yeah, find me someone 4,000 miles away, and I reckon I might be able to make a go of it.
I think we'd still mess it up somewhere.
I'd mess it up.
But she left being a teacher and took that risk on me and flew over to join me in my dream and be part of it. And we had the bar and the restaurant. Yeah. And the irony of it was, I was talking about being a chef. I'm not a trained chef at all. Yeah. But our business partner over there sacked the chef Christmas week, which is one of the most profitable weeks of the calendar year in a bar and restaurant game. I had no choice other than to put my chef whites on. And at that point, I'd helped out 1 or 2 nights a week in the kitchen because I just loved that environment. Yeah. And now I'm stood on my own with around about 80 people sat down at tables and the waiting staff bringing their tickets into me for their meals. And it was all on me then. And that's how I very quickly became a chef. Yeah. Self-progressed.
We call that putting your big boy pants on and just getting... And Meg started... I remember the first week that you started us, we had a job come in and it was a little bit behind, and she was like, what needs to be done? And I thought, fair play to her. Female in engineering, going out into the workshop, paintbrush in her hand.
Yeah. You'd gone out, actually. I got
out and I was like, this job's got to be done. She was like, Dan,
you have a drink. You
just go and do you. And then I got a picture message on my phone on WhatsApp, and it was in a pair of overalls covered in paint, just painting loads of gates and railings and stuff. And I thought,
fuming. I'd got a really nice pair of shoes on, and they were like great primer all over them, ruined, trousers ruined. But you do have to do that sometimes.
That's where it starts. I think that's where it starts. It's not the end game.
No.
But sometimes you have to go through that to get to where you want to be.
Yeah, and I think it separates a lot of people, doesn't it, from just the people
who's willing to do it and who's not going to do it.
Yeah, the people who just want to sort of go home and leave it at that, leave their work at the door and aren't really that bothered. They just want to get paid and just go home. And the people who actually really do care, I think it separates it. It does. We do.
So the Christmas obviously let's say talk about the restaurant. Obviously gone. Christmas decorators is now the main focus, I'm assuming.
It wasn't, no.
Okay.
The Christmas decorators was part of the restaurant.
Oh, okay.
So to get people to come in the restaurant,
I like this.
We covered it with Christmas lights.
Right.
To try and, so we were looking out the window and we'd watch skiers and snowboarders walking past.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'd be thinking, come in, please come in and spend some money.
Yeah.
And short of standing with the doors open shouting, come on in, we covered it with lights. So people would walk past and go,
bit of a stop,
nice. And they'd come in. and the restaurant started to become more successful.
Wow.
Still wasn't doing the numbers I wanted. And that's where we thought, okay.
The main draw here is...
It was a year later, we were at a Chamber of Commerce drinks meeting, and other bar owners and restaurant owners were asking me who decorated my bar and restaurant. Now, I was just in the process of selling it.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I may as well
put your name out there and just see what you can get out of it.
So I said it to my wife, and she's a designer, and she does all the Christmas decorations, and she can do your bar and restaurant for you if you want.
Yeah.
And that's how that started. That's how the Christmas Decorators started. We decorated a very exclusive private members club.
Yeah.
And the membership was like ex-presidents and movie stars and whatnot.
Yeah.
Oh.
And we ended up getting a load of work on the back of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And people used to say to us, "What's the name of your company?" And we're like, "We haven't got a company. We haven't even thought of a name."
We're just us.
So people used to just call us the Christmas Decorators.
Decorators.
So we thought, right, we need to turn this into a company. The name is obviously going to be the Christmas Decorators. It does exactly what the name
says on the tin.
Yeah.
That's it.
says on the tin. Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. I didn't know that, to be fair.
I'm
how it
shocked. I
started.
really didn't know that.
I've been in contact for 4 years and I never knew. One, used to be a chef. Two, I've been missing out on you cooking on
We'll
a Friday.
be there on Friday. Yeah.
Every time you invite your staff to head office now, it has to be a
We'll be there
Friday.
only on a Friday at lunchtime.
If you invite me down on a Thursday, ever again, the answer's no.
Yeah, no.
I want duck
So-
orange everywhere.
Is it?
I don't know.
Weird.
But I like orange and I like duck, put the two together, I reckon it'll be all right.
So, had you got rid of Rocky Mountain at this point?
I sold that company,
sold
yeah.
it, yeah? Okay.
Okay, so
Wow.
so obviously you're still over in Colorado. You're doing the Christmas stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How long before then you moved to England?
What happened was my wife's parents were in town.
Yeah.
And I was running Rocky Mountain Adventures. I was running a transport company that did all ski resort transfers in minibuses with insurance and proper tyres.
He's come a long way.
And I thought it was invincible. I had the bar and restaurant.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was literally... and I was the TV chef on the local Colorado channel.
No, you weren't.
On the breakfast show.
So Gino
Yeah.
Campo.
Yeah. And I was just bullshit my way through it because...
I didn't want to sound disrespectful, but this is the best catch me if you can bullshit story.
Yeah, but the whole point
impressed.
behind it was I had no desire to be on the TV.
Yeah, just
I wanted
just
to be
opportunities
on.
all
I
the
wanted
time.
to be on the TV to talk about my restaurant to get more people to come
Clever.
in. So I'm doing all of this, and Sarah's mum and dad said, "Sarah, we fly home in 2 days. You coming with us?" And Jo was probably 18 months old at the time. She had no life. She was living in the apartment on the 3rd floor with an 18-month-old. No family support system in place. So she said, "Nick, I'm going back to England." And I can't remember where I heard this, but this was about 6 months later. Dick Van Dyke in the movie Mary Poppins says the words, "Childhood is like sand through a sieve."
Yeah.
And I've missed Joe's first steps, his first days at nursery, his first words, his first haircut, all these kind of things that a father should be there for.
Well, we had this conversation, didn't we?
We did
We had
indeed,
this
didn't we,
conversation,
Dan?
and I'll be honest with you, it hit me a little bit because obviously Mabel, my daughter's 18 months now.
Yeah.
She's getting big.
She's beautiful.
She's gorgeous, isn't
Well,
she?
what
She
do you
makes nice babies.
Look at her dad. You both sound very shocked there. but
Yeah.
She's definitely, just put it out there, she's definitely mine, by the way.
100%.
Yeah, she's got a temper like me, so I
Yeah,
definitely
she-
know she's mine. But no, I remember you saying to me, and it was all about the conversation about growing the business, obviously Eminent, and you can't do everything yourself. You've got to, otherwise you're going to kill myself. You basically said to me on the train, and it come down. I remember, I don't know if I don't even think my ex-partner was even pregnant, or it was on the cards, to be fair, at that point.
No,
but
sure,
I do remember the conversation where you did say to me, there's going to come a point where you only get one chance of it. Don't miss it. And I'm going to be honest with you, I did. I fucked up a little bit, to be fair, because I took a job on. When we first got the unit, I took a job on in the shop that I shouldn't have taken on. Liv had just given birth. And we took a bit like a catch-22. I had the shop, I needed the work. We wasn't ready for it. And a bit like, I'm Danny, everything I do, I'll figure it out, I'll sort it. It bit me on the arse a little bit, and I missed the first couple of weeks of the baby. time that I'll never get back. And unfortunately, me and my partner aren't together anymore. And it's always a conversation that comes up. That one job that really was detrimental to the business as well, because we weren't ready for it. I shouldn't have took it on. Yeah. But I was kind of in a situation where finances, where you've got this big, massive unit, it needs paying for. Just take it, deal with it. You've got good people around you and you know what you're doing. You'll figure it out. And it didn't work out the way I planned.
I suppose it was like do or die at that time. And it really was, because we'd got, we'd employed more people. So we felt responsible for, they've got families and stuff. You've got to make sure they get paid. So.
It was a good thing that it happened, because had it not have happened, it would have happened eventually anyway.
Yeah.
I think so, down the line.
But the fact that it happened then means it wouldn't happen again. Yeah. Because you went through it and you learnt from it.
Yeah.
And everyone can make a mistake. That's life. That's normal. That's a good thing. Yeah. You're only an idiot if you keep doing the same mistake over and over again.
Well,
it's just something that obviously I remember speaking about it, and then it happened, and I kicked myself afterwards, and I was just like, I think the job weren't even that much. And I'll be honest, I'm going to put it out there, we still never got paid off that job.
No, we've still not got paid.
It's an illegal battle.
And we're like 18 months on
into an illegal
so
battle.
Actually, was it worth it?
I never got paid
Probably
for the job. So I missed the first couple of weeks of my daughter's, being at home and stuff.
Yeah.
Took a risk, didn't work out, and I can't get that time back, to be fair. Mm-hmm. And where you're saying, obviously, about, relationships with business, we always touch on this. Meg's a bit different, she's carefree, she comes and goes, but when I'm setting up the business and stuff with relationships, it's a hard balance. And I think a lot of people can get to that point where they go, do you know what, I'm in a relationship, business might be doing well or it might be not doing so well. When you get pressure from partners, I think that's when decisions really have to be made. And for me, I'm on to my third relationship now due to the business. Three in the first 3 years, because I was just on it. People would come to me and I'd be like, no, listen, I'm done. Like, just leave me. I'm working. I'm trying to grow. And I kind of learned a little bit now, not to be like that. But I felt like I had to at the time. Otherwise, we wouldn't be where we would be. And I kind of.
That's just the growing process, Dan, of starting a business.
I regret it a little bit. I regret it.
No, don't regret it. You learn from it.
Because I'm where I am. But when I see these people, I do wish now that I met them now or was with them now when I'm a bit more. I've got Meg, who basically runs the company. Like, she just, what am I doing now? I'm off Fridays, I'm off day Tuesdays. I can take holidays whenever I want. I can enjoy the business a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
First 2 or 3 years, there was no enjoyment.
Do you know what, Dan? You've come along a long way in a short space of time as well, because that was only 3 years ago. 3 years ago, you were a stress head. You had no organisation around you. Your phone rang every 2 minutes.
I know.
And I feared for you having a heart attack.
I was close, to be fair. There was sometimes.
You were. You, I don't know how you did it. I was cringing with you that day we were in London. That whole journey just down on the phone, and it was grief.
I know. I'd say it wasn't a pleasant time. In a sense of, I had this just thing that I just needed to do it, and I had this business that I was proud of and I was trying to grow. But other people like yourself who I look up to, and other people who have been there and would give me advice saying, listen, you need to change this, you need to change that, you need to change this, otherwise you're not going to be able to do it. I think worked. I think I listened a little bit, but the damage has been done a little bit on the early days. But where we are now,
I think you're being too hard on yourself, Dan.
Yeah, I think so. Because
no, you are.
Because do you know what? If like anything in life, if things were meant to be, they'd still be, wouldn't they? And I suppose so. I think you where you are now, and the business is where it's at now. Because I think a lot of it as well is you need to meet in business and in your personal life as well, like-minded people that understand that, like, you've got to work hard to get to where you want to be. And if people can't support that, then, or even understand that, then really, I don't think...
That's why you're still with us, because she works 24 hours a day.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't think they have a place necessarily in your life if they don't really understand how you work. And
what's meant to be is meant to be, as they say, or whatever it is.
How spiritual.
So let's go back then, Nick. So obviously you've had the ultimatum type thing. Your partner's coming back to England type thing, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
You would come back with her.
Yeah. No, it wasn't that. She knew I couldn't. She basically said, Nick, I wasn't an argument, it wasn't horrible. She said, I'm going to go back with my mum and dad.
Okay.
And
I couldn't blame her. I didn't see her. I just didn't see her. I would go out at 6 a.m. and I would work until 1 a.m. I don't even know. I cringe looking back, like 4 or 5 hours sleep a night.
So I suppose it wouldn't make a difference really if she was here or
she
there,
was better
would
off
she?
being here in England.
Yeah.
So she came back to England, and 6 months later I thought, I've had enough of this. This is not where life needs to take me now.
Yeah.
You know, I've done like whatever it was at the time, 5 years of living a dream, of being drunk all night and snowboarding all day.
Yeah.
Lots of money in the bank to enjoy and all that kind
Yeah.
of thing, and being in newspapers, being on TV shows, all the ego stuff that you have, and it matters to you when you're in your 20s, but all of a sudden when you have a child and everything changes, and who cares about that anymore?
Yeah.
So did you make a decision then to come back to England?
Yeah, I came back to England, sold the company,
Yeah.
and thought, let's try and see if Brits go for a service that's typically an American service, which is for somebody to come and decorate your home at Christmas time.
Okay.
So in America, you wouldn't be considered posh if you had a cleaner or a gardener.
Yeah,
it's just
it's
another home
it's
service.
normal,
standard
isn't it?
stuff, isn't it?
It's becoming more standard in the UK as well. Lots of people got cleaners and
Yeah,
gardeners.
we have cleaners, don't we?
Well, we need to just clean your desk up. Your desk is absolutely horrendous. I don't want to go into your desk.
But I have a cleaner at my house now. I'm the opposite of posh, just because you don't have the time, do you?
Yes.
No,
So,
exactly. And you've just hit the nail on the head. So the Christmas Decorators was formed purely for people who are cash rich, time poor.
Yeah.
That would like to come home on the 29th of November and walk into their apartment or their home, and there's garland up the banister, there's a Christmas tree in a lounge,
Yeah, happy days.
and there's lights on the outside of the house as
far
well.
off what I do. Could I just phone you to do everything in the office? Even the Christmas tree in the salon this year, I was like, yeah, you just go and do that.
Yeah, you do that.
I get to that point now where that hour it could be better spent somewhere else. So I kind of get that. So what year was this then, Nick? What year did you obviously set up in the UK?
2006.
Okay.
I think if you look on Company's House, something like that.
You and Sarah both joined together and thought, we'll do it as a team. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a
perfect.
joint husband and wife business.
both.
Again, no big prospects of multi-million pound business. In fact, that first year, we only started, so I only came back to England in the November.
Okay.
And we put flyers around the local neighbourhood, Walton, Chilwell, Allerton, which is where we live, South Liverpool.
Yeah.
Put flyers through letterboxes. And that year, the phone didn't ring until the 6th of December.
Okay.
That's really late.
Yeah.
And in 2 weeks, we did 37.5 grand.
Okay.
So that's where we thought, we've it wasn't about the money, it was about seeing if it worked.
Yeah.
And that was just with like minimal marketing and just quite basic sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That was a bit like how we started. It was a bit like I put something out there, tested the waters, and then when it done a little bit better than expected, I thought, hang on a sec. If I done this again next year, better, and just kept it going and kept improving, I wonder what would happen here. Do you know what I mean? You kind of just jump on the little wagon and then you think, hang on a sec, this could end up being something.
Yeah.
So let's just say, so you got your first year, okay? I'm assuming Sarah done all the decorations, you done.
Sarah was inside putting the trees up.
Yeah.
I was up on the roof putting the lights on. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. My dad was footing the ladder for me, or Eric, my father-in-law.
Yeah.
You know, everyone was roped in because it was more of a let's just see if we can do this and get away with it. As far as the customer was concerned, we were a professional business. As far as we were concerned, again, just like everything else, we were just.
I suppose if it was me and you're paying someone to come and decorate your house, the most important thing is, one, have they listened to what I've asked them to do? Do I like it? Yes, that's it.
It just looks nice.
It looks nice. I'm happy with that. Thank you very much for your service. I couldn't care if you turned up in a £40,000 brand new van or
On your bike.
or a bike, as long as the service that they've got is effectively what they paid for.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And how long was this going on? But obviously, with the family affair with you, Sarah, the two father-in-laws, both helping each other before it become, let's say, the staff, the warehouse, and stuff like that. How long were you plugging away at that before it come into something?
So there was no plan. It just grew slowly and organically.
Yeah.
The second year was probably pretty much the same, but that year we did like 3 times that turnover.
Yeah.
Still not a serious business as such. I was fortunate enough to have free storage in my dad's business premises,
Nice.
so no overhead there.
Yeah.
By the third year, we built it to £250,000.
Wow.
And we brought on 2 staff, and then I brought on another shareholder then.
Okay.
A dear friend of ours, Margie. She was a customer originally.
Okay.
And she was a director at the Liverpool Flower Market.
Oh.
And she was looking to get out of that. And she absolutely loved Christmas. In fact, I was around at her house last night and she had a Christmas tree up.
What, from like Christmas just gone or like this year?
I was going to say,
she won't even take it down. She's
Love
a
her.
Christmas nut job.
I only took mine down last week.
I was going to say, I know Christmas starts early for you.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's a bit soon. Like, but I know what you're saying. I think Christmas grips people, I think.
You love it, don't
think
you?
you love
Yeah. And Margie got involved in the business then.
Yeah.
Then a year later, Jed walked through the door with his CV.
Really? I thought you knew Jed before.
No.
Oh, wow.
He'd worked running bars and clubs for the Catholic Church.
Right,
Yes,
okay.
and I knew
And then
that.
he came in and within a year or so, they were shareholders.
Okay.
I'd given them some shares because the salary alone wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And I said, look, here's the journey we're going on and this is where I think
it
the
wins,
company's
we all
going to
win.
go. So yeah.
So
And-
basically, nearly every person involved at that stage, Jed and obviously yourself, were kind of just forging this Christmas business as you were going. You know,
Yeah, but-
obviously Jed and his obviously he'd never really done Christmas as such. Would I be right in assuming?
No, he hadn't, no.
Yeah, so
No.
yeah,
So it was all just new to everyone.
new to
type
everyone.
of
I think
thing?
that's a good way to do it though, because
Yeah.
everyone's on this same journey. They've all started from the same point, kind of thing, and they're all following it and all learning as they go and trying to direct it into a positive type
Yeah,
thing.
because I think sometimes people get stuck in their ways, don't they? And especially
Yeah.
if they've been doing the same thing for like
Yeah.
20, 30 years.
Where you look at someone like Jed, I think if you would have went for someone who'd maybe done some sort of decorations in some other company or something, I think if you would have taken someone on that in that aspect, it could have been like, oh, well, in our company we used to do it
We
like
used to
this.
do
And
that. Yeah, it happens all the time.
With having neutrals, it's like, well, this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
This is how you're going to do it, and if it doesn't work,
They're no different anyway.
there's no
do they?
difference
So,
anyway.
yeah.
We just wing it,
Give it a go.
give it a
Yeah.
go.
See what happens
Love
and
that.
go with the flow.
Okay, well,
That's what we
I
did.
must talk about the clientele list that you have because
Oh,
it's
right.
extremely impressive, very impressive.
Well, everyone wants to talk about that.
everyone.
Where was the pivotal moment for that?
That's what
though?
I was,
like
that's
when,
exactly what I was going to
yeah,
say.
like-
Who was I don't know if you're allowed to talk, but if you mention names, but who was was there a point when the first like celebrity or well-known person come up and you thought, oh, hang on a sec, is it just a one-off, or you know, when I was I can imagine celebrities being quite talkative and name gets passed around very quickly, and before you know it, you're in everyone's house
Yeah.
doing Christmas decorations.
Yeah, I mean, we in the UK, it started with the football fraternity.
Yeah,
So a lot of the
Yeah.
Premiership players living around Cheshire
yeah.
who played for Liverpool, Everton, Man U or Man City.
yeah.
They were clients. I remember one of the first being Wayne and Colleen,
Okay. Wow.
and then Phil and Julie Neville. And
Wow.
do you know, I don't follow football,
No.
but I know we do over 100 Premiership players
Wow.
Blimey.
on our client list. But I couldn't remember sort of Sean Wright Phillips, Jermaine Defoe, John Terry.
So you've done them all, really.
Well,
Yeah,
this is what our contractors love, because when we send our labour out to obviously do these installs,
Yeah.
obviously we have all the commercial stuff, which are like the shopping centres and stuff, which is, it's good. They like it. But it's when they get sent to these luxury houses with football players and celebrities and TV stars.
Yeah.
They get really excited.
They do.
Me and Sophie in the office have been doing a few jobs for one of the franchisees.
Yeah, she's been getting out on the tools, believe it or not.
Yeah,
Her
we've
and
been
Sophie have been
decorating trees and all
Good on you.
sorts. Yeah, we've been loving our life.
She actually phoned me. She phoned me to make sure I'm not going to be in the office Thursday, Friday. Why? She went, we're on site. I went, no, you're not. You're running the company. She was like, no, we've been requested. We're going out.
We're the top tree decorators,
Yeah.
and we got offered to go to a footballer's
stunning.
I'm gonna
house.
have to keep my eye on you.
It was
Yeah.
stunning. I don't know if you've ever seen. We're going to send you the pictures. The pictures of the tree afterwards. I was extremely impressed.
We did a few. We even did a Saturday shift one day. We were that. We
Yeah.
loved it
Trying
that
to get time
much.
and a half out of us. She was.
Yeah,
Like, no, you're not fixed rate for the installs.
but no, like you see these names and you think, oh my goodness, like especially for like just your average me and you. We're like, oh my god, who are these people?
Yeah, well, we had a bit of a. We had obviously. We have the celebrities and we have the stuff like that, and then I think this year wasn't there a cruise ship as well?
Yeah,
That was on the cards.
one of our guys went and did the
Did he do the
cruise
cruise
ship.
ship? Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, with Andrew, yeah.
Yeah, we're on a
Yeah.
cruise
Yeah.
ship to decorate the.
Yeah.
Now,
So they sailed out and then flew back, didn't he?
Daniel was furious. He was like, please.
Did you want to do that one
Yeah,
time?
he was like,
I thought
please
it might
send
need
me.
project management. And I
Yeah.
thought, well, you know, seeing as I'm the business owner and they need to get some perks, I thought I'd trip on a cruise ship to check over the Christmas tree.
Please send me to Spain on the cruise ship. I was like, absolutely not. You'd end up
But
overboard.
don't forget, I did get my hands dirty on the 3 Mile. Remember the 3 Mile up in Newcastle?
Oh, yeah, that was a pub, was it? Yeah.
It was the pub, yeah. It had a big reindeer outside, spiral garland on the 4 columns and all the internals. And
They're really fun jobs. So
Yeah,
anything Christmas decorators, I love.
Yeah, Paul basically said to me, this is what I want you to do. Garland Faffer. Off you go. Give me a shout when you're done. Cable ties. Make sure nothing's visible.
Yeah.
And I'd done a bit of training with Nick.
Yeah.
You know, so I knew a little bit, and I thought, I'll give it a go. And I just put it all up, put all the lights on, put all the connectors
Same colour cable ties for the same colour cable.
There we go.
Yeah.
Visual management.
Do you know what, Dan?
Cable management.
Hats off to you, because we'd come to you for recruitment, and for some bodies that knew what they were doing, and we'd never requested you to, but off your own back, you travelled. I mean, I think one day you turned up in Aberdeen.
Yeah, I knew we went
on
to
a job.
Scotland,
Yeah, so I done in one day. I done.
Somebody said Dan's here, and I went, Dan, what? You just turned up in Aberdeen, and you've gone up because you wanted to.
Yeah, we done the one in Altrincham, didn't we? Which was the DM Robinsons with the red bow.
Right. Yeah.
I pulled up to there.
Yeah.
And then it was Simone up in the shopping
Sterling.
centre, Sterling.
Yeah.
Went up to there and popped my head in.
You do.
Yeah, as you do, just pop your head in, 9-hour drive. Just to, and I think you'd have to do that because it's a bit like you when you probably started with, the celebrities and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of know what you could be onto, so you kind of go. And I knew I knew how you viewed us. I know there was no airs and graces when we spoke. You knew we were a company. You knew we were keen. You knew we'd sometimes go above and beyond, maybe all the time.
All the time. Give yourself
No,
that.
you really do.
Yeah, you can call us at any time.
Yeah.
You'll get something out of us.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is an opportunity for my business, to progress and to be involved in that type of world where, the BBC studios, for one, for the job, the tree was absolutely stunning. But it was the kind of the coverage. And people were messaging me going, didn't you help with this? Wasn't this your lad who installed it? I'm like, yeah.
And you built the tree.
We built the tree,
and we made the tree as well. But it was stuff like that. So I kind of take a bit of pride in thinking that, and I went down and moved all the letters when somebody changed all the letters to swear words. If you remember.
And what wasn't Philip Schofield and Holly Willoughby presenting in front of it?
Yeah.
It says like fuck or something.
I think I had the C word in C-U-N-T, and I remember getting a phone call going, you're in London, aren't you? And I was like, anyway, can you meet? I think the first time I met you, I need you to, or someone, you need to come over. And I just went up to the tree, and there was like these profile letters with glitter. And I was like, okay, let's put the C up there. And there was like two people had come through, bladdered on the night, and started rearranging all the words.
Was it you?
No, it definitely wasn't me. No. We've done some things for work, but we've never gone that bad.
So I suppose, Nick, on that, because we've just mentioned loads of different names, and I suppose that leads to your business model a little bit, because you've got different franchisees in your business. When was it that you thought that would be a good idea, or how did that come about?
How that came about, Meg, was I'd found myself in the very beginning, so within the first 2 years, being in London one day, Edinburgh the next, Birmingham the day after that, back in London, back in Liverpool. I thought, hang on a minute, I'm in a worse position now than being in Colorado doing most. But how can I run a company that is all over the UK?
Yeah.
And I looked at the failings of the other Christmas companies that had been along a lot longer than me.
Yeah.
They'd been around a lot longer than me. And I looked at what their failings were, and their failings were not being able to give customer service and support. Okay. So, for example, in a shopping centre where a pisshead would knock over a tree on a Saturday night, the shopping centre calls the Christmas company that's on the other side of Britain and says, could someone come and either no, we can't come, or it'll be
2 or 3 days.
Two or 3 weeks.
Oh, really?
So Liverpool ONE?
Yeah.
I once said to the CEO of Liverpool ONE, why do you accept the fact that round Liverpool ONE, 30% of your lights aren't on? The Christmas lights aren't on. He said, well, they've failed or been vandalised. He said, in the Christmas company, I've got, 60 other shopping centres around the UK, and he just can't get back to us. And I said, but why do you accept that? He said, well, we're not happy about it, but we have to accept it. And we get a credit note. If 30% of the lights are off, we'll get 30% off the bill. And I said, but surely if you've got £100,000 budget, you're happy to spend 100 grand, but you want 100 grand's worth of lights on.
To make it look...
Not 70 grand's worth of lights on and a credit note for the other 30 grand. He said, but what can we do? The Christmas company's on the other side of Britain.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's ridiculous. That's terrible. So I thought, how do we get around this?
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I'm going to go and explore the opportunity to take our business and turn it into a franchise.
Yeah.
So met with various consultants and legal people to look at how we would do that and duplicate our model and replicate it so that somebody in Birmingham could learn to do what we do.
Yeah.
And someone in Glasgow and Edinburgh and, you know, where we are now, this year, Christmas 2023, there'll be about 48 franchises in the UK.
See, what I like about the franchisees as well is not all of them come from a bit like your background and Sarah's and stuff. We've met a lot of them with working them. A lot of them have come from different backgrounds. I think we've got one who used to sell diamonds. We've got one that used to work in shops and stuff. And then I'll be honest with you, I think the Christmas thing is just, I think it's one of them jobs that when you're involved with it, because you're given something at a really nice time of the year, I think it fills a lot of people with joy. And I think people can get addicted. I think people really like that as a selling tool. Let us come in, let me take all the stress away from you. Let me do this whole job for you. And just seeing at the end result and seeing someone knowing that they've done all the Christmas shopping, everything's done, and everything's done for them. And you know, seeing that happiness.
I think it's, you know, Nick, you're really passionate about what you do, and all the franchisees that I know I've met, and I'm sure you have too, they share that passion so
they
much.
Have to.
Yeah, and
they have to.
And
if
it's
they
great.
don't share that, then we're not on the common ground, and they need to leave. And you know, because we all have got to have the same kind of core brand values.
Absolutely.
Right? We've got to be passionate about what we do. We've got to have integrity about the way in which we do it. We've got to communicate properly with our clients to make sure we're the best. We're the only Christmas company out of about 40 in the UK that has had the balls to go and put ourselves on Trustpilot, where we expose ourselves to all kinds of criticism, if there was any criticism to be had. But I welcome that. Because I think you're ignorant if you think everything you're doing is right and every customer's delighted.
How did Trustpilot go?
We're 5-star. We are 5-star excellent.
Bit me on the arse and they will be closing next year.
No, we're 5-star excellent. Okay. And don't get me wrong, we've got a couple of negative reviews.
You're not going to please everyone. In this business, I've learned that when I first set up the business, selling ideas to people, you're not going to win everyone over.
No.
And sometimes the service that you think is good, somebody will have a perception, and sometimes there's motives behind that. I've had people phoning me up saying, "Oh yeah, I'll take that job," and then all of a sudden Monday comes, you don't phone them, the phone's off. In the early days when we weren't doing things like tip top and stuff, and I was a bit like working from my home, and I was like, was that actually a person looking for work, or was that somebody who's just looked at me and thought, let's try and derail this a little bit?
Yeah.
And you do get that in this world.
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
Absolutely. Competitors or jealous people.
Well, a bit of both. I think they're both as bad as each other. And social media, I have a tug of war with social media.
I've seen you fighting on social media. Sometimes I want to ring you and go,
down. I have to tell him to rein it in. I do it all the time.
I am getting better, but I'm currently on a 30-day ban at the moment.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah, I'm on a 30-day ban.
Nice.
LinkedIn, I use Slick. It's professional.
Because I write your posts.
But you do. She's my ghostwriter. Meg's the ghostwriter for all the Eminent posts.
So you don't threaten people then, Meg?
No, I'm quite polite. Yes, you do.
I just. And then
you're quite brutal, Dan.
Facebook, I find, is opening the masses to everyone in the dog. People who have never experienced or they can even fathom what we've tried to do or have even had a plan of doing it, and you think you're giving yourself a platform here. You're 55, 60, 70. You're still looking for work every week. You're still bashing people on the internet. I don't do this, I don't do that. Just have a day off. Just stop it. Just have a go. And I will pull my hands up and say I'm guilty for absolutely being a biter. So if anyone throws a rod out, I do bite. I am getting better though, but that's because I'm mostly banned.
Can't be bad if you're banned.
Can't be bad if you're banned. That's the new slogan for the company. Can't be bad if you're banned.
I love it, yeah.
So obviously the franchisees, the part of the business now has worked. You know, you're, like I said, the most prestigious company in the UK in my eyes and a lot of other eyes of obviously what you do, the festive decorations.
Well, that was a nice compliment.
That was a nice
compliment. Lovely, and it's true though, isn't it?
And we do love working with you.
Yeah.
And if you do hear me saying to someone else, you're my best client, I'm just lying.
You're truly mine though.
So listen, we are going to play a little thing here to wind down the interview. So in here we have a topics jar, and over the last couple of weeks we've been asking clients, friends, family to put a couple of topics in here.
Oh, you didn't ask me.
Well,
so much for being a favourite client.
Best clients didn't get asked.
They're too busy. That's the thing. You're too busy.
Okay, so what we've got in here is a load of questions. Some of them are related. Some of them, I'm going to keep it short and brief. Give it a whiz round. Take one.
Okay. Oh, they're even laminated.
Right, there we go.
Courtesy of Sophie in the office.
What have you got?
Death row meal.
Right. So you can either cook it yourself, shit, this is going to be your last meal. Or
is this me or you?
Well, it's a bit of both.
We say it all.
Yeah, it's a bit of both. So if you were on death row, what would be your favourite meal that you'd have?
I have to be honest, I haven't thought about this ever before.
Well, this is the whole point. This is why I froze
You're on the spot. You're really in the hot seat.
Do you know
it's
going to be?
Yeah, I know, man.
It's going to be filet mignon.
Okay.
Oh.
With a lobster tail.
Okay.
Done in a creamy garlic sauce.
Sounds like an M&S advert.
With horseradish, mashed potatoes, and some mushrooms fried in butter with truffle oil.
And he says he's never thought about it. He clearly has thought about this. Okay, I'm going to go for a bit of a thing that resonates with me. So every Christmas and or New Year, mostly Christmas, we have duck pancakes on Christmas Eve.
Nice.
So we have all the family, we have a Christmas film, you put your PJs on, but duck pancakes, that's me done.
Brilliant.
So there's the plum sauce, the celery, the cucumber, all in. What's yours, Meg?
Do you know what? This is really this is controversial, but I would just really be happy with like a large 6 nugget meal from McDonald's. No, I would be thrilled, but like the chips would have to be hot.
Oh, yeah,
salted,
hot chips, yeah.
And like a bit of sweet and sour sauce on the side. I would be thrilled with that.
Well,
Kill me.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know about anyone else, but I think that's a perfect note to finish the to finish the episode on.
We've really gone like from the top to the down.
Celebrities to chicken nuggets on death row. That's where we've ended.
That's what I'd
Classic.
have. Maybe a double cheeseburger on the side.
No, you've said it now. Don't start trying to spruce it up now. You've said it now.
Sorry.
That's it. Well, Nick, listen, thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
No worries.
Lovely
It's
to
much
see
appreciated.
you as always.
It was a pleasure.
Perfect. Thanks very much. And we look forward to working with you next year.
Definitely.
This
Thanks,
year.
guys.
Cheers. Thanks very much.
This year.
Cheers. Oh, yeah, this year.
Cheers, Meg. Thank you, my love.